Today we're going to do a DIY nail removal. So it might be shellac that you've just had applied over your own natural nails, or it might be some sort of artificial enhancement. So that could be gel, acrylic, a tip, or a tip with gel or acrylic on top. So we'll cover shellac first because it's the simplest item to cover, and then we'll go on and do a little bit more about removing any sort of artificial enhancement. So the first thing you should do is get a nail file and fold straight over the top and just break that seal, because there's usually a sealer that seals the shellac or the polish in. Okay, so all around the edges and all over the top. You don't want to go crazy, just enough to gently break the seal. And then you want to get some acetone, pop it on a cotton pad. The cotton pad goes on your nail and you can wrap a little bit of alcohol around it. These little remover pads that I've got here come already attached with alfoil, and they just fold around. Okay, and you want to leave that on for 10 minutes. So it needs to be nice and firm around there, not loose. You really want to soak that gel polish off, or the shellac, or whatever it may be. Alright, so after 10 minutes, when it's ready to pull it off, you want to push down on that nail nice and firm and give it a little twist and try to pull off most of that shellac or the polish that's on there, okay? Now you've probably got a little bit of residue on that nail, so the best thing to do is to gently, and I mean gently, not scratching, very gently just sort of scrape a little bit of it off. And then you can use a buffer and you can buff off anything that might be left. If for some strange reason it wasn't coming off, then maybe you don't have shellac, maybe you have acrylic or gel, in which case we'll tell you how to remove that. You can always just re-soak with another little bit of acetone and see if it'll come off that way. So once you get your residue off, you want to use a little bit of cuticle oil preferably, and again just a nice soft buff in and some hand cream. Okay, then if you feel you need to put some sort of protective coat on there, it might be just your normal clear top coat that you use. You might have a special product like my Nailtrition, or you might have a hardening product. Then you want to get a little bit of alcohol, spray it and wipe any oils off there first before you put your polish on. Okay, simple, really quite simple. So for shellac it really is just a case of breaking the seal with a nail file, soaking it, and then gently pulling it all off and being careful to just buff lightly. Okay, if you use a nail file, a normal emery sort of file, on top of your natural nail, each time you go across it, you're pulling off 4 layers of nail. Okay, so you really want to keep that in mind. Be nice and gentle. So if we're talking about acrylics, gels, or tips with acrylic or gel over the top, or a tip with shellac over the top, so something that's glued on there, then what you want to do again is to go over that with a nail file at the start and break that seal, maybe a little bit more than you would with your shellac. Just be careful as you get closer to your cuticle here, because a lot of that's probably grown out by now. So you don't want to be filing lots of your natural nail down the bottom. You really just want to get the parts that you want to take off. And then I would suggest that you actually either use your nail file or use a trimmer to cut those nails right back. Anything that's been sitting under an enhancement for a number of weeks is going to be soft. So the moment you take that protective covering off, it's going to break anyway, and it could possibly break down below where your natural nail sits, and it's going to bleed and it's going to hurt. So my advice is, if you're pulling off nails, particularly any that you've had for a while, any of those artificial nails, trim them right back. You're going to have to let them grow out from being short. So trim them right back, And then you want to do something similar to what you did with the shellac. You want to soak your cotton pad really well and wrap it around the nail and leave it on there for 10 minutes. Okay, then you should be able to take most of it off. So most of the polish and that sort of thing on top should be there. You might be left with a bit of a tip. It might be actually going a little bit like this, so you might have a little bit of it lifting. What you want to do is get your cuticle stick and very, very, very gently, I want you to work around the edges and start to lift it up, and particularly any edges on this side. So you want to very gently lift it away from your natural nail. You don't want to rip it off. You rip it off, you're going to rip off a lot of your natural nail with it. So what you want to do is just gently pry each bit around there. So give yourself some time. Don't do it in a rush. Okay? So eventually when you manage to get that tip or the acrylic off, then you're probably left with a bit of a sad sort of soft nail. So again, you're going to have to very gently shape it. And there's instructions in my little simple manicure video about that. So you might want to give yourself a nice manicure. Use things like cuticle oil, hand cream, and nail hardeners, all those sorts of things. So it's a simple sort of process. You just have to take your time with it. Okay, if anyone needs acetone or soak off pads, nail files, all those things, I sell little kits. Just hop on my online shop and I can get that delivered to you as soon as possible.